Devastated Korea. Families destroyed after the war. Increasing number of poor women, runaway girls, single mothers came to Seoul looking for jobs. To these Korean women who suffered from pain and despair, there was one person who reached out a hand. It was Eleanor van Lierop. Her love and devotion toward excluded women rooted in Korea, and until now, through Aeranwon, has saved lives and made people stand. Now it's bearing ample fruit that plants love. Mrs. Lierop was raised from her pastor father and promised to devote her life to God when she was young. 1943, she married to a Reverend Peter van Lierop, and the couple came to Korea in 1949 as a North Presbyterian Church missionaries. Reverend Lierop has founded Gyeongan High School in Gyeongbuk Province by the support of American Presbyterian Church. Also took the position of a professor in the Theological College of Yonsei University by the request of Dean of Theological College. He served as a pastoral care and counseling professor until his retirement. While Reverend Lierop was focusing on the education, Mrs. Lierop was interested on the barren reality and the shaded lives of Korean women, and devoted herself to aiding them. Women who suffered from poverty moved to the city to continue on the livelihood, and in many cases led to working as a housekeeper or to work as a prostitute.
Yonsei University, and a couple of students came to the door and asked if I wouldn't help this girl. And they asked her why she was in that. Why she was there. She started crying. She said she didn't want to do this, but she couldn't live at home anymore because her parents found out that she was what they call a common prostitute. Now, at first I didn't have any place to take her, so the church world service.
So you needed a place for them to stay because no one else wanted to house them, so you thought of having a house where they could live together and learn a trade. Was that what you were thinking?
That was their idea.
At that time, Korea was like a wasteland for women's rights. There weren't enough support from even the government or the church. But Mrs. Lierop didn't give up. She prayed and continued on fundraising. On the 1st of April 1960, Mrs. Lierop founded House of Grace for the protection of prostitute women and for their rehabilitation. Mrs. Lierop's devotion didn't stop. As the problems of single mothers became a social issue, Aeranwon was reborn into a single mother facility to support the hardships single mothers were going through and also to save lives.
One of the things that I remember very well about House of Grace is that the girls would make things and then they would sell them in the hospital. And they opened a store in Severance Hospital. And they would sell these things. And Mom, my mother, would store those things in our house. And she would go down there and work on the inventory for the store. So because it was House of Grace, I started calling that store Gracie's.
Mrs. Lierop supported the single mothers to stand by themselves through offering them a vocational training. 1977, Mr. and Mrs. Lierop returned to their country after the retirement of Reverend Lierop. Korean government thanked their commitment through delivering Order of Civil Merit, Camellia Medal. Even now, Aeranwon has taken over the spirit of Mrs. Lierop and has been planting the seed of love for the single mothers. Now Aeranwon manages 5 household facilities, alternative school for single mothers, 2 centers, and has grown to a facility that helps 500 women. Aeranwon is a living facility for single mothers who are in hardship due to premarital pregnancy and their newborn baby. It supports delivering the baby and postnatal care. Also, it provides various information for the mother and the child's future and helps them to plan and discover their directions. Mi Ui One Family Center offers various support for the local community's single mothers and the child to be able to self-support themselves. Also, we have an emergency pregnancy support center to help women who go through hardship due to pregnancy. We have a 24-hour hotline call and a visit consultation to prevent abortion, child abandonment, suicide, unemployment, being homeless, and running away from home, etc. Aeran Mother and Child Housing is a facility that was first built in Korea for the single mothers who chose to raise their own child, to be self-supportive of their lives. Due to its successive results, it has been reflected in the national system. Now, in 2015, there are 40 of single mother and child housing facilities around the country. But in reality, not all the single mothers choose to raise the child. Aeran Seumta is helping the single mothers who has chosen to give up the child for adoption, to go over the sense of loss, the shock, and help them develop their lives afterwards. Nare Alternative School is a consignment-type alternative middle and high school that is built within the Aeranwon facility to prevent the discontinuance of education due to pregnancy. By graduating, mothers get their original school's graduation certificate. For those adult single mothers who are in the blind side of welfare work, such as being homeless, having intellectual disabilities, mental illnesses, etc., we founded Mapo Aeranwon to support the same service Aeranwon is giving. Aeran Youngsville is a cohabitational household that offers academic support, independent support, child care support for the teenage mothers who has chosen to raise their child. We are praying and fundraising for Aeranwon is going through reconstruction in its original place to support the growing need of teenage single mothers, safe delivery, education, and nurturing. The history of Aeranwon is the proof of God's compassion and love toward woman and child. Mrs. Lierop was a seed of love that was sowed in the wasteland Korea. Even now, through the history of Aeranwon, that seed is bearing an ample fruit. Mrs. Lierop's prayers has made the present Aeranwon and is leading to its future. Mrs. Lierop's tears and effort will always be remembered in our hearts.